Hello, everyone. I'm Jasmine from Mercan Group, and good morning to people from USA. Good afternoon and evening to people from Asia, and I know that some of you, the time is about midnight. So first of all, thanks for taking your time to join the webinar of Mercan today, co-host with Nomad. And firstly, I would like to thank Thomas and his amazing team to support us setting up this webinar. And second, among various questions that have been sent to me daily through Nomad platform, there is one question that I always receive, which is whether people can secure their GV investments before the rule change in 2022. Even we answered the questions already, but these questions also always keep coming back. So that's the reason why we decide to do the webinar today to explain comprehensively to NOMAD attendants about the rule change, the update on the Golden Visa program, the processing and timeline during the COVID situation, and of course, the presentation of the most attractive projects that we have now in the market. So before I pass the stage to our panelists, I would like to do a brief introductions about the guest speaker that we have today. So first is Mr. Jerry Morgan. He is the president of Mercan Group of Companies. And he is the founder and CEO of Mercan Group of Companies since 1989. And throughout 30 years of growing and developments, Mercan now have more than 20 international offices globally. So at USA, he is also the co-partner at AII Funds, a company based in USA since 1991. And the company is specialized in also the investment in creation program called EB5. He is also the founder and the CEO of Mercan Properties, formerly named Referencia Arrojada Group in Portugal. Basically in 2015, when the Portugal government decided to enlarge the portfolio of investments and allow the people to invest in the rehabilitation category that qualify under the Golden Visa program, Jerry came to Portugal, and he, together with Jordi and the first members of Mercan, to establish the office there. And until now, we already have 15 properties that in a various stages of operation, constructions in Portugal. So with that in mind, Jerry also aimed to bring Mercan to become the top 5 hotelier groups in Portugal within 5 years. So that's the reason why he come to Portugal. He set up the most competent and also strongest team in Portugal to be able to service the investor and also to commit the long-term goal for Mercan. So the second panelist we have today is Jordi Villanova. He is the president of Mercan Properties Group in Portugal these days. And he is also the vice president of Mercan Group of Companies. And in Canada, he's also the YPO Go Pass chairman for many years. And Jordi joined Mercan Groups in 2008. And with his specialty and wide and strong network, Jordi can be able to bring Mercan partners globally. And he can be able to connect the agent partnership so that Mercan can deploy our products to various countries and also to help Mercan reach out to our partners and our clients. So these days, he is managed day-to-day operations at Mercan office in Portugal. So the next one is Mrs. Ines Moura. She is lawyer and she is also the general manager at International Atlantic Service Firm. So under the leadership of Ines Moura, together with 15 lawyers and paralegals, the company is doing and managing more than 1,000 Golden Visa applications. So basically, for each file of the investor, there's always 3 lawyers together with paralegals to look after the file of the customer various stages of the process to ensure the seamless and also professional service throughout the stage of the application. So I think let me pass the control right to Jerry and Jordi so they can take it over and they can start their presentation for now. Jerry?
Okay, thank you, Jasmine. And it is indeed a pleasure to be here today. I'm very happy to talk to everyone. Just a little background on the Mercan Group. We started in 1989 in Canada, and we quickly established our offices in the United States in 1991 when we became very active in the EB5 program, which started during that year. Over the years, we've expanded into China, a number of other Asian countries. And in 2006, we started our recruitment division. And in terms of Portugal, we came into Portugal in 2015, and we set up our operations in 2016. And we've grown to the point in Portugal where we're the largest golden visa developer in the country. In terms of the United States, we've done over 38 projects under the EB5 program, and we've developed over $1.5 billion of real estate. In terms of Portugal, we now are on our 13th project, and we developed a number of properties throughout Portugal that we will talk about later. But now we're close to 400 million euros of investment in Portugal. So that's why we are the largest developer in the Golden Visa program.
Thank you, Jerry. So yes, it's a pleasure to be with all of you today. So yes, I just wanted to share with you from Porto, where I'm sitting today, first of all, why we are the largest developer, as Jerry mentioned, the largest real estate rehabilitation developer, which means that with the 14 properties we have, 1 out of 2 golden visas issued in the rehabilitation category are for investors that have invested into our properties. We have a team of over 40 people, which basically cover not only the development, but also the construction coordination. It covers all the investor relations, as well as the hosting of the investors that come for, as Ines will explain, for safe purposes and also to stay here in the country. Of course, why Portugal? And it's very simple. As Jerry mentioned, we came here in 2015 after looking at different European programs, because we saw that not only Portugal has the most appealing and attractive program, as we will go through the features, I think will be very clear. But more important than that, there's a couple of features that are unique to Portugal. And amongst these features, the ones that I would like to underline is, number one, it's one of the safest countries in the world. It's actually the third one, and in the ranking is actually well above our home country, which is Canada, and of course well above some other countries like the UK and the US. The second thing which is really relevant is it's the best European destination according to different sources, and also it's the best expat destination. So not only it's a great destination to visit as a tourist, but it's also a great destination to come and spend time over here. And of course, one question which comes up day in, day out. So how is Portugal dealing with the COVID-19? We have to say, and the ministers today, this morning, they just announced 85% of the population is vaccinated. So it's the country in Europe with the largest percentage of vaccinated population. So this gives comfort not only to obviously the people we are here, but more importantly for the people who are coming, for the investors that are investing into our properties and that are coming and spending days. And it's not only the vaccination, but Forbes has mentioned and has named Portugal as the preferred destination after COVID-19. So we're really looking forward to seeing all of you over here. And now I'll just pass it to Ines. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Yeah. Yes, just some technical difficulties. So, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Inês Moura. I'm the general manager here at EAS. EAS is a company that provides assistance to all investors that are interested in investing in the Golden Visa through rehabilitation. We have a dynamic team of lawyers and paralegals, and we provide assistance to investors throughout the whole Golden Visa process. We are specialized in the rehabilitation Golden Visa category. We are approaching 1,000 successful Golden Visa applications, and we are confident that we can deliver a service to our clients that will enable them to surely and very in the best way possible, in the short way possible, also obtain the Golden Visa acceptance. In this case, the deciding to go through the permanent residency or the citizenship at the end of the process, but however, accompanying them from the first moment. We here at EAS, as Jordi mentioned, are responsible for one in each two Golden Visa processes in rehabilitation category currently taking place in Portugal, and are responsible for accompanying, as I mentioned, about 1,000 successful Golden Visa applications so far. So moving to the next point, here we are talking about the investment in the acquisition of real estate for rehabilitation for commercial purposes, and not in the housing category. We do have the commercial category, which is the category, as Jasmine was saying, that will not be affected by the change in the law that will take place in the beginning of 2022. So the Portuguese government decided to amend or alter the law, and from January 1st, 2022, the housing Golden Visa that allows you to buy a residence here in Portugal in the major cities will no longer qualify the investors to obtain a Golden Visa. So that category will end at the end of 2021, and the categories that will remain are the commercial acquisition and the investment in funds. We have other small categories of Golden Visa that are in the others category that don't have a lot of penetration in terms of interested parties in Golden Visa. The major ones are the residents, the investment for residents for housing purposes, and the rehabilitation category, so commercial investment. In that sense, at the end of the year, basically for investors and to keep the possibility of the 350K investment, the rehabilitation category is the one that remains available. For buildings to qualify, and that's the kind of buildings that Mercan procures for its investors, the building must be over 30 years old, or it must be in the city center. So since this is a question that, like Jasmine was saying, we get a lot of times, and it's natural because the news are all over it, the Golden Visa investment for rehabilitation will not change, will not be affected, unlike other categories at the end of the year, will not change. And the fact that we invest today will not be affected at all by this alteration that the Portuguese government has introduced in the law. So the amount will not be significant higher at the end of the year. All places will continue to qualify for this investment, so it will not be affected. In terms of requirements, there is no wage limit other than no changes at the end of the year. There is no wage limit. We don't require, again, compared to other programs, any kind of special management experience. There is no education limit. There is no need for financial proofs. Of course, source of funds are required, but it's required under UE legislation. The amount of the investment is significantly lower than other programs. You have to stay in Portugal for 7 days in the first year, and then 14 days for the first and second renovation that correspond to year 2 and 3, and then to year 4 and 5. And in terms of documents, again, taking into account the benchmark of other programs, Portuguese government doesn't really require a lot of documents. So other than the ones that are necessary in the beginning to start the process, do the screening process, the amount of documents that you need to obtain to be part of the program is not very, very relevant. And then, as I was saying, because it's very, very relevant, the new law in terms of residential real estate ceases to be eligible at the end of 2021. So the major cities acquiring a residential real estate in the major cities will not qualify for golden visa. So let us say generally that kind of golden visa will cease to have penetration. Then the funds will be affected, not in the same way as residential, because you will still be able to qualify for golden visa when investing in a fund, but the amount will change. So it will go from 350K to 500, okay? And then you have the golden visa for commercial purposes, commercial investments, like hotels and offices, and that is not affected by the change in the law, neither at the beginning of the end of the year, nor at the beginning. So basically the only category that is not affected and does not disappear or does not disappear at the end of the year is the commercial investment. A brief overview in terms of process. We are talking about a 5-year process. When you begin, you of course, execute an agreement. Then we here at IAS procure a tax number for the investor. Then with the tax number and additional information, of course, we open the bank account. The investor transfers the funds. We execute the deed, submit the documents to CEF, and initiate your golden visa process. Afterwards, you get pre-approved, the investor gets pre-approved, and we schedule the biometrics for the investor and family, if that's the case, to come to Portugal and collect biometrics. Then after the biometrics are collected and the documents, the original documents are submitted, you get approved to start the process. And your 5 years begin on that moment. Once after collection of the biometrics, you get approved here in CEF, in the Portuguese regulator. Then the card is issued and is valid for 2 years. You are required to come to renew your card to enter year 2 and 3 of the Golden Visa program, and the same thing, come here and renew the card for year 4 and 5. After this, as long as, that's a question that we usually get to, as long as the conditions that were presented at the beginning of the process, so at year 0, let us say, maintain, there is no further analysis from the regulator. This means that unless something changes on your part, on the part of the investor, the conditions, there is no reason for any of these renewals to be denied. So you present the same documents that you did in the beginning, you do the biometrics, so there's no add-on here, there's no additional information required. It's an administrative process. So at the end of year 5, you have a choice. You can go to permanent residency or you can go to citizenship. So that's the usual way that these processes tend to occur. We do accompany our investors until the end of the process, and with either decision that they want to take at the end of year 5. Another relevant information that we have relates to the changes that have been taking place in CEF. The current question that we have relates to the scheduling of the biometrics, or the difficulty of the scheduling of the biometrics. And as I was saying with an investor earlier this day, it relates to CEF. It's true, CEF is undergoing a big renovation, in the sense that some of the powers that CEF had are being passed to another entity, so that will free up resources in order to give quicker answers. And it's going to be, it's basically between the policy, the police powers that CEF has and the administrative powers that CEF has. The ones that relate to Golden Visa are the administrative powers, are the ones that are staying in CEF. So the police powers that CEF has will go through the Portuguese police. So indeed, this will free up resources to allow for faster response from CEF. So it's a big part of our process to the relationship with CEF. We've been developing channels. We do have people that are very, very attentive to the openings for the appointments that occur. And we do believe that the changes that are currently taking place in CEF will allow for a faster and smoother process.
Now I'll pass.
Thank you. Now I will talk about the various projects that we'll be offering today. Okay, so we have 2 projects that we'll be offering today. One is in Lisbon, which is a 350,000 investment, and the other one is in Lagos, Algarve, which is a 280,000 investment. So we'll start first with the Lagos project. Now here's an overview of the overall resort, which is a very, very large resort. As you can see, it includes those 2 soccer fields, all those buildings, the man-made lake, and all the greenery around it. And you can see it's fairly in close proximity to the sea. In terms of this resort, it's going to be a 5-star resort, and it's going to have 201 suites. The key components of this resort is there's a huge sports component to it, where we're going to have gym, 2 soccer fields, 3 tennis courts, 2 paddle courts, 2 volleyball courts, and an indoor swimming pool. In terms of amenities, you're going to have various restaurants, all night dining, all day dining. You'll have a pool bar. You'll have a spa. As I mentioned, you'll have the man-made lake with the beach. You'll have a kids area. You'll have a movie area and a zen and theater area. So it's going to be an all-encompassing 5-star resort. In terms of location, it's located in the area of Lagos, which is on the sea. And you can see in this picture, these are 2 of the beaches that are within walking distance of the resort. And you can see they're both very, very beautiful. These are just 2 of a number of beaches that are located in the vicinity. Lagos itself, as I mentioned, is one of the main tourist destinations in the Algarve. And in the first shot at the top, you can see the marina, which is a 462 berth marina. And it's won a number of awards in the European region. As I mentioned, nearby you have a number of beaches. So, You're on the warm sea there. And also within walking distance vicinity is the downtown of Lagos, which has all kinds of entertainment, restaurants, and shopping that you can partake of during the daytime. In addition, you have a lot of culture and history in the area. You have the slave market, you have a Lagos Castle, you have the ruins of the old town, churches and convents, and all kinds of other places that can occupy your daytime. And as I mentioned, also a lot of sports activities. Here's an overview of the site. As you can see, the area of the city, this is the Lagos city itself, and to the left you have the resort. What you'll also notice from behind the resort is an 18-hole professional golf course that people staying at the resort will have access to. So you really have everything all in one area here. And you can see at the front are all the beaches. So it's a fantastic location to put a resort. In terms of the resort itself, it's 201 room suites, and it's for 350 investors. The investment itself is 280,000 euros. And with this, you have a guaranteed buyback at the end of your investment period. And you also get 7 free days of stay at the resort each year. I will also note in the picture, this is your man-made lake that's in the middle of the resort with a beach right there. So that's very nice. Again, on this particular shot, it's an evening shot of some of the recreational areas. And you can see to the left is your infinity pool. So it's a really nice resort for families. In terms of rooms, I mentioned they're all 1-bedroom suites. So gorgeous rooms where you can relax and enjoy yourself. And here's again, it's focusing on families. You have a lot of outdoor space where you can relax and eat and spend quality time together. As I mentioned, there's all kinds of sports facilities. There's 2 soccer fields, and the concept behind the soccer fields is a lot of the British and Northern European soccer teams, professional teams, will come down to the Algarve area to train in the winter. So the concept here is that we will entertain and welcome various soccer teams to use our facilities. In addition, as you can see in the picture, there's a golf course right beside the resort. It's a professional golf course. So, there's another place where you can sit down and relax and enjoy your day. As I mentioned, in terms of the investment overview itself, it's 350 investors at 280,000 each. It's a 5-star resort, and it's 201 suites in the resort. Now, this particular project, it pays 0 return, but what the developer does is they pay all your taxes. They pay your transfer tax and they pay your VAT taxes, and that's over 30,000 euros. So that really works out to about a 2% return just there. In addition, you get your 1 week per year, and the developer will buy back your investment once you receive your passports. In terms of your overall out-of-pocket costs, you're in for 280. The only thing you're going to have to add to do it is about 2,700 euros, and that's all that goes in to the investment. That's all that's required over the term of the investment, and at the end, you get your 280,000 back. Project is for sale now. Construction will start beginning of 2022, and it's expected to open in the second semester of 2023. And in terms of this project, the architecture is very pretty, the whole concept. Well, the architect is Sarava, which is one of the most famous and well-known architect firms within Portugal. So, we always, in terms of construction, in terms of architects, in terms of all the people we work with, we always go for quality to ensure the project is done in the very best possible way. Now, I'd like to talk about our next project, which is called Lisboa Park. And by definition, it's in the city of Lisbon. Here's a picture of the building. As you can see, it's amazing, outstanding building right in the middle there. And you can see the surroundings of the building. Sorry, I'll just back up for a second here. Okay, so there's your scenery, and it's right in the, it's right in a commercial area of Lisbon. And it's going to be 225 rooms, and it's going to be a Moxie hotel. And, the location itself, it's in a main commercial hub sub of Lisbon, but yet at the same time, it's only 10-minute drive to the downtown of the historic area. So it's right in the commercial center of this particular area, but it also has good access to the city. In terms of business, there's a lot of businesses around it. You'll have companies like IKEA, Vodafone, Samsung, Siemens are all in that vicinity. In addition, you have the Amadora Sinatra Hospital, which is a very famous and well-known medical facility. And you also have a famous palace that that dates back to the 18th century in the vicinity. And here's an overview of the pictures. You can see, if you're looking for a very strong commercial hotel, which is what this is, this will service a very large industrial base. It's something that's needed in this community, and it's something that should do very, very well. Here's a picture, a daytime picture of the resort. As you can see, it's a very pretty building. It's for 180 investors at 350,000 euros each. This particular project is a little bit different. You earn a return of 3% payable upon the opening of the hotel. You're eligible for buyback at year 6, but you still need to hold the investment until you get your passport. So once you get your passport, you have your guaranteed buyback with this one. And you also have 7 free days per year at this property as well. Now, this interesting about this property is you're going to have 3 restaurants on site plus bar and beverage facilities because the location is underserviced in terms of food and beverage. So we anticipate a very, very strong food and beverage business in this location. Again, it's a very, this particular brand of Marriott is a very entertainment, it's a very lifestyle type brand. So everything's very modern and very relaxed and very, very structured for the very modern people. Now, in terms of this project, as I mentioned, it's 350,000 euros. It's 180 investors. You receive the 3%, as I mentioned earlier. But again, the developer will pay all your taxes, your transfer taxes, your VAT. So your out of pocket, again, is limited to that 350,000 and closing costs of about 2,900. That's all you have to put in, other than your government fees and other fees. And then at the end, you have your guaranteed buyback, where you get your full 350,000 euros back. So it's very easy to understand and very clean. Again, here's a picture of the hotel at night. It's going to be a fantastic visual site, and it'll be very, very popular in that particular location. Again, we're using the famous architect Saraiva, and as you can see, I think he's done a very wonderful job. This will be a spectacular hotel. Now, I'd just like to change a little bit and talk a little bit about our track record in Portugal. First hotel we opened is a 5-star hotel. It's on one of the oldest streets in Porto. And this particular building is a 250-year-old building. They used to store port wines. This hotel is already open, and it's being very, very well received. It's full every weekend. It's a fabulous property. And really, if you do go to Porto, please come and visit it. The next property is what's called Sir Cathedral. This is a Hilton Tapestry Hotel. This hotel will be opening next month. It's an 80-room hotel right in the center of the city, beside one of the biggest landmark, the cathedral. So it's really a fabulous hotel that'll be opening next month. The next one's called Fontina Hotel, and this hotel is right on, there's a famous street called Santa Catarina, which is walking and shopping. Well, this particular hotel is right on this street. It's ready to open, and it'll be opening next month as well. The next one is Riverport Douro. This is it's not on the Porto side, it's on the other side, right beside the bridge. So you have a spectacular view of the UNESCO Heritage Site from this hotel. And if you look at the second picture to the right, that is the actual view you'll have. So you have probably some of the nicest views in the city. There's a huge swimming pool on the roof that becomes a restaurant at night. So this is going to be probably one of the nicer properties in all of Porto. So this one will be opening next summer. Next one's an interesting one. It's our first 280,000 project. It's called Casa de las Rillas, and it's about 40 minutes from Porto in a city called Amarante. This particular city is famous for vino verde, which is green wine. And if you go there one day, you really have to try it. This hotel will be opening next month. Our next one is right in the historic area, in an area that's considered the cultural center of Porto. All your artists and musicians and cultural people are attracted to this particular area. This is a famous, a nobleman, their logo's there. And this hotel is under construction and it'll be opening next summer. Another one is 4 Points by Marriott, by Sheraton, which is a member of the Marriott group. This hotel is in Montesinos, and this hotel is one block from the beach on the Atlantic Ocean. And this is the main surfing area of Porto. So this beach is very full on weekends. And this hotel is really nice. And it will be opening in November of this year. And then we go down to, we did some 280,000 projects in an area called Evora. Evora is a city about 1 hour and 15 minutes from Lisbon. It's a fantastic location. You have wine, you have olives, you have warm weather, which is always nice. And so we've done a Hilton Garden there, which is under construction and will be opening next summer. We come back up to Porto. We have a 4-star Ramada Renaissance by Marriott. This is under construction, as you can see in the picture. It's going to open next summer. And nearby the Bellas, the Arts Hotel, we created a suites, all suites hotel, which is this particular one. And it's right in the heart of the historic area. And it's all 1-bedroom suites. And this one will open in the 3rd quarter of next year. Again, we come back to, there's a Holiday Inn, which is in Porto, which will start construction very soon. This will be right in this heart of the business district. And this one will open next year in the 4th quarter. And this is a Holiday Inn. And we have another Holiday Inn in Evora, which again, as I mentioned, is 1 hour and 15 minutes from Lisbon. This one is also under construction and will open at the end of next year. So that's a rough underline of the various projects we've done. Projects are in process and projects we're offering today. So thank you very much for your time, and we would welcome any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry, for your presentation, and thank you, Ines and Jordi, too. So I received, during your presentation, I received a lot of questions, and I'm trying to screen it. And please allow me to 2 minutes so I can be able to gather all the questions, and then we will address all the concerns of the clients in the Q&A sections, okay? Meanwhile, please, supporting team, please help me to show the short video clip about the some events of Mercan in Portugal, please. Okay, all right. Here I am again. Are you ready to rock and roll, the panelists? Because I have in hand 50 questions right now. Okay, so let's start with the first questions from Jordi.
Yes.
So I received the first question is about the investments. Is the point of buyback, sorry, is the point of buyback 5 years from the investment? I guess you have the echo, Jordi. Okay. Okay, let's start again. So is the point of buyback 5 years from the investment or 5 years after the property is up and running?
So thank you, Jasmine. Yeah, this is a very common question, and that's a very simple answer, because the buyback is basically happens after the investment. So it's basically 6 years after the investment. So what we say is that because it takes 5 years after 5 years of having the golden visa, you apply for citizenship. And then you'll be getting your citizenship, as Ines explained, after 6 years. So either you can ask for the buyback no matter what after 6 years, or when you get your citizenship, which you should be getting anytime after year 6. So the answer is it's after the investment, 6 years after the investment.
Okay, thank you, Jordi. So next questions, because I see that there are quite of the repetitions of the questions. So I will group some questions that have a common sense. So Ines and Jordi and also Jerry can be able to answer right away. So a lot of questions were sent to us asking again about the investment options and also the golden visa change. I think maybe Ines, can you please explain again a little bit clearer? Because I see people still asking about, can we still get this done this year and qualify for the 350 option prior to the January 1st of 2022? This is the first question. The second one also is the same. Doesn't residential real estate still qualify in 2022? Just not in the 2 cities and the coastal area? And also another person also repeat that question. So the rehabilitation project is unchanged after 2021. So Ines, can you please help to explain it a little bit clearer this time?
Of course. Residential, as I was saying, when we say residential will virtually disappear, this comes from a place where the vast majority of investment in terms of rehabilitation has been done this past years, ever since Golden Visa started, in the cities where the investment now does not qualify. So indeed, in non-coastal cities, let us call them that. There's a list, of course, of the cities that remain eligible. Golden Visa for residential purposes will continue to qualify. The issue is that the interest that Portugal saw in the residential investment for Golden Visa has been overwhelmingly in the cities where now it doesn't qualify for Golden Visa investment. So that's the case. So let us say in simpler terms, commercial Golden Visa investment remains unchanged. So no changes for this kind of investment, namely the 350 amount or the 280 when we are talking about cities that are low density cities. So this is one situation. Residential real estate will continue to qualify, but in cities that are not the major cities in Portugal. Okay, so it's still eligible after January 1st, 2022, but just not in the cities where it has been used. Let us say it like this. So we anticipate in terms of interest that the vast majority of the people that, or the persons that usually were interested in this process, in this product, will no longer be, because the cities where they usually invest will no longer qualify. Investment funds will continue to qualify, but the amount required to invest will go from 350 to 500. So when I say the only category that remained unchanged in the amendment that the law suffered or went through is commercial real estate investment for the purposes of obtaining a golden visa.
Okay, thank you, Ines. I guess the answer is clear, and we also confirm again that for our rehabilitation category, it's remained unchanged even after 2022, right? All right.
Exactly.
Thank you, Ines. We're moving on to Jerry. I think Jerry got a lot of questions about the buyback, and I will also group a group of questions about a buyback to Jerry. The first one on the group is, I am more interested in how you can build up enough fund to be able to buy back. Do you provide annual financial report, and how to ensure the project is managed properly? Again, the same is, I would love to hear detailed information about the guarantee of buybacks. Who is guaranteeing it? Bank or somehow? How do we know that our investment is 100% secure? And what does guarantee here mean? So,
Okay.
Jerry.
Great, thank you, Jasmine. So yes, we do have a guaranteed buyback, and that's a very important component of the overall process. And the way it would work, usually when people invest in real estate, they tend to borrow too much money and take on debt, and that's when they run into trouble. Our projects are different in that we run on 100% equity. There's no debt on the hotels. So the way our investment agreement is structured and very clearly states, all the cash flow and all the profits that are generated from the operation of the hotels are set aside into a fund for the buying back of investors. A year 6.5, and we have reports with cash flow projections that is available for investors. A year 6.5, we have 40% of the funds available to buy back investors. Now, not everybody is in the Golden Visa program for the same reason. Some people from certain parts of Asia are in it because the Schengen visa is very important, and maybe they're not so keen, they don't speak English, they're not so keen to learn Portuguese. They may buy back over maybe 10, 12 years, and they're looking at a longer term program. Whereas people from the United States are in it for the passport and going to cash out much sooner. So we do have an orderly transition of people cashing out over time. If at any point in time, the demand for buyback will exceed the funds available, because we have no debt on the property, we could very easily access lines of credit or additional debt instruments that could cover any shortfall that we may have. Furthermore, we only make our money by buying back investors. So if at year 6.5, we built up 40% equity in the project. Now, if we fail to buy back investors, we are in default. Being in default, we lose that 40% that's been built up. So we will do whatever is necessary, even if we use our own funds, to ensure that buyback takes place, because we're not going to throw away that 40% equity that's been built up in the project. So that's kind of the philosophy behind our whole buyback strategy.
Thank you, Jerry. For all of the questions that the panelists are addressing, the answers, for sure that our supporting team will follow up with you later on and sending you the written response tomorrow. So let's moving on to the next questions. I think Ines receiving a lot of questions on the biometrics. So maybe let's start with the biometrics. So how long does it take to get self-appointment after the investment? How long does it take to get the cards after biometric appointments? And during the COVID situation, I heard that it's very difficult to get the appointment, I guess. everything is about the appointment in it.
Biometric appointments. So
Biometric.
exactly. So I'm going to try and give a comprehensive response, and also to give some additional information on things that have been happening in the last few days. So during COVID times, the truth is that with CEF appointments closed and only opened when there are, of course, appointments. So no, the thing is, all public services in Portugal start operating only when previously scheduled, and the majority of the people work from home. So in fact, processes went faster, not slower. What we do have is a small bottleneck regarding the scheduling of appointments. So the appointments open, they are scheduled online, the appointments open, and there's a demand, because there's a demand of golden visa, especially for the people that unfortunately will stop qualifying, namely residential investment, and people want to schedule quickly. So there's a big demand for the product, and there's a big demand, of course, for appointments. Taking this into consideration, we had last week a meeting with the Minister for Home Affairs in Portugal, and made them aware of our concerns regarding our clients that really wanted to schedule biometrics and had some difficulty, or we had, because we scheduled it for them, in finding appointments that suited the needs of our clients. And we did have that meeting with the minister. We made him aware of the situation, and we will be receiving a meeting request from the minister with CEF, so that CEF can address our questions and our requests for some changes that, in our view, will facilitate the scheduling of the biometrics. Currently, in terms of timings, this is equal parts, or almost equal parts, availability from the investor and availability from CEF. So we do get appointments. It's not like in some countries or some visas where as soon as you get approved, automatically you are scheduled an appointment. No, appointments open in an online platform, and in certain days, in certain times, and in certain cities, and we go there and schedule our clients. We do have people that are almost 24/7 looking at the website in order to be able to secure the appointments for our clients, and we schedule them in accordance with the availability of the investor. This means that the investors that are flexible, or that have availability to come, for instance, in short terms, get appointments quicker than investors, for instance, that are only available in certain times, or that need a certain notice to be able to travel to Portugal. This is why I say this is equal parts, the investor and CEF. We, of course, when making an appointment, take into account the availability of the investor, just to make sure that they are able to come when we schedule the biometric appointments. Currently, we submit a process. Pre-approval takes about 2 months, 7, 8, 6 weeks. It depends on the process, and then biometrics open. As soon as the client came yesterday, we had an approval that when the client came, he did the biometrics, and exactly 2 months after, the client was approved. So this is a very good timing in terms of approval of an investor, approval of a process. And this, just to remind you, when you get the approval after the biometrics is when the clock starts ticking, and when the 5 years start to count. So we are working, let us say, in multiple fronts. From one side, we are working in an institutional level with the government and with CEF in order to create tools to be able to respond and address the need for appointments quickly. We are working with our clients in order to identify immediately when are the best times, or if there are best times, because sometimes any time is the best time to come to Portugal and do the biometrics. And on the other hand, we do internally allocate all the necessary resources to guarantee that, to the best of our abilities, when appointments open, we have the tools to schedule them to our investors as soon as possible. So limited time, a lot of demand. Of course, we need to be very proactive in ensuring the appointments for our clients. So I hope this addresses the concerns, and we do believe this is a collateral positive effect for IAs and of course for Mercan investors, that since a lot of golden visa residential investors will have to after the end of the year will no longer qualify, this will of course free up a lot of the appointments that traditionally went to those investors, to investors that are now with the commercial investments. So this will, I believe, have a positive collateral effect on appointments.
Oh, that's, I guess everyone is hoping for that, because for sure that getting a biometric is a critical point, because we need to pass that in order to move to the next step, is to receive the residence card later on. But I also see that these days, after they do the biometrics, the time to process the paperwork and get the final result is much more faster, right?
Exactly. We've been verifying that the process has become increasingly faster.
Thank you, Ines. Well, we're moving to another questions about the project, Jordi. Let's just be specific. So one question is about the VAT tax and the IMT tax. I checked the cost calculator before for the two projects. I see the Lagos has VAT, but the Lisbon one don't have VAT included. So do we have to pay the VAT for Lisbon hotel?
No, actually, in both cases, the VAT is paid by the developer. Because of the different type of areas, which always happens in the tax world, different areas have different taxes. The tax that is paid by the developer for the VAT, the rehabilitation, is around 17,000 euros in the case of Lagos. In the case of Lisbon, it's a bit lower. So that's probably why in one of the cost calculators, it's more relevant the portion that the VAT that we pay in Lagos than the one we show in Lisbon. But what's very important is what Jerry said, because altogether, in terms of taxes, we are paying almost 30,000 euros on behalf, and I mean that comes from the developer, which is a big savings when you look at a 280,000 euro investment in the case of Lagos.
So continue to the Lisbon projects too, and also the Lagos projects. So I received another questions about the numbers of investors currently have secured so far on the Lagos project. And another question is about the Lisbon projects too. So how many investors Mercan's already received for the two projects?
Yes, that's Jasmine, that's an excellent question, because one of the things that what Ines has explained, Jerry has also explained, is that because of the changes in the law that will happen in January 2022, and the fact that the investments into our properties, which are commercial, real estate, hospitality, in rehabilitation, are not affected, we have had a big demand in the past months, which basically has meant that the properties that we had available for investors are fully subscribed, like the ones we had in Évora, like the ones we had in Porto. So today, with the two new projects that we are launching, we already have, in the case of Lagos, over 100 investors who have subscribed. And then in the case of Lisbon, we already have over 40 investors that have subscribed for this activity. And as opposed to what happened at the beginning of the year, where the rate of number of investors subscribing per month was lower, today we have quite a significant number per month of investors subscribing our properties.
So things coming so fast. So when you forecast that the two projects, Lagos and the Lisbon, will be sold out? based on your experience
Jasmine,
and current
that's always a very difficult question, but because one wants to be realistic, and sometimes we have to acknowledge that by being conservative, it doesn't help, because it's important for the investors to make sure that they make their decisions on time, so they can do the investment on time. In this case, not because of the change of the law, but because the project might be fully subscribed. So in the case of Lagos, we have mentioned in the presentation that we expect subscription till the end of the year. I would say that by November, the project will be fully subscribed, and I would not be surprised in the case of Lisbon that we have also said the subscription till the end of the year, that sometime in November we are already fully subscribed.
Okay, thank you, Charlie. So we're moving to the next questions. Jerry, can you please explain about the structure, because I received one question. It seems like they are considering between the fund and our structure, the Mercan structure. So is it Mercan's kind of like a target fund size? How much the capital raised so far? What is the fund minimum investment? What are the set of fees, annual management fee? I think maybe you can share a little bit about our structure.
Yes, people invest in us because it's easy and it's comfortable. We offer a safe product where we provide internationally branded hotel names, we provide great locations, and we provide an exit strategy. So people don't come to us to make money, they come for the safety and security and the comfort that investment in our project provides. What we offer is a cooperative ownership where each investor will own a percentage of the actual hotel, and they have the guaranteed buyback at the end. So whereas the fund is a different type of investment, and it's one that perhaps suits some people. And I think for a fund, you're looking at 350,000. The funds do offer tax-free advantages, but if you're an American, those advantages aren't really available because of the American tax system. Funds, you have to keep in mind, if you want to do a fund this year at 350, you would have to move fairly quickly, because you'll either have to have filed your case or have your case approved before the end of the year, and nobody's really sure to what extent you need either filed or approved, and that's something you can deal with the actual projects themselves. But come January 1st, funds are going to be at a price of 500,000, and that makes them significantly more expensive than perhaps looking at our investment, which will remain at 280,000 or 350,000 till at least the end of next year.
Thank you, Jerry. We're moving on to Ines for another questions for you. So I'm most curious about understanding the legal structure. What exactly would I be buying with the hotel project in Lisbon, for example? Am I buying a direct piece of the property or a percentage of the owner of the property? Or am I buying into a fund that will own the hotel? And given that there's an annual return plus a buyback, it seems that I would be much closer to being a lender on the project as opposed to the owner, I guess. This question, so many people own so careful, because they really confuse the idea of buying a fund or buying a piece of properties or buying shares. So maybe you can explain it clearer.
Yes, this is an asset deal, not a share deal, not a participation unit deal. In a fund, you are buying the property. You are the co-owner of a property, and you are the payment that you get is in the form of a rent. So you are also the landlord of of the property. You're not buying a share in a company that owns the property. You're not buying a participation unit in a fund. You are indeed the co-owner along with all the other investors in the property. This allows you to, for instance, the way to acquire the property in Portugal and the majority of the European countries is through a deed. You execute a deed, a public deed, or in this case, your legal representative here in Portugal will execute on your behalf the deed. You will be inscribed in the building register here in Portugal as the co-owner of that property, and also along in the tax authority archive, you will be listed as the co-owner of that property. So you will indeed own property in Portugal. And that is the way that the golden visa for rehabilitation is structured. There is also the possibility, which can be analyzed in case it's relevant, to incorporate a company in Portugal, be the sole owner of that company in Portugal, and buy the share in the property, so the portion in the property through that company. That is also a possibility, but usually that's not the way that the majority or the vast majority of the investors go. They just choose to directly buy the property, invest, and become owner of a portion of the hotel in Portugal. So indeed, you don't buy shares in a company, you don't buy participation units in a fund, you buy the property, and then you become the landlord of that property, because the return that you get is in the form of a rent. Hopefully this clears out the questions, Jasmine.
I think it's a perfect clear on that questions and answer. Also, one more questions, Ines, because I also see many people keep asking about the citizenship. So I would just group it into one question so you can be able to answer it all. So it's all about the citizenship and the A2 language test for the case of the kids like less than 18 years old. And more specifically, the question is about, if our kid is 7 years old, does she have to pass the exams to obtain the citizenship? And also the parents over 65 years old, what about them in this situation?
Yes, in terms of language, everybody has to pass the language test. There's an exception in the law for those who cannot read and write, okay? Other than that, everybody has to pass the tests for the language. So we do recommend, this is an investment that you are doing for you, for future generations. It, of course, takes a little bit of effort, but it's also a new language that people learn, and it's important, since you are coming to Portugal and being hopefully a Portuguese citizen or a Portuguese resident, that you speak the language. It's not that hard, and it's as I said, both an investment and something that you benefit of, and it's the requirement, of course, that the investors struggle with most, because coming 7 days a week, a year, or 14 days in a year, it's very nice, it's vacation, but indeed children and the families basically and the investor do need to learn and to pass the Portuguese test. It's not a very hard test. We do have options in terms of teachers, and more than that, we do have a lot of success stories that come through our Portuguese teachers of other applicants that devoted a little bit of their time to learn Portuguese and were very successful at it.
Thank you. Ines. Okay, we're passing to Jerry. So the new projects that you talk about today look to be a lot bigger in terms of cost than your previous projects. What changes are you making to manage these much more larger projects?
Well, obviously, as we grow bigger, projects will go bigger with us. We have, a very large infrastructure in place. So our construction team, our engineering teams have all grown significantly to take on the new projects. In terms of, we do have a third-party management company which will manage the properties. So we're not involved in the management of the hotels themselves. Keep in mind, we're a developer, and we work with the external construction companies. So we work with a lot of third parties that are able to provide the services and the resources that are required for projects of this size. So we really don't see much difference. In fact, we find that building bigger ones are easier because they're just the economies of scale are just so much better. So frankly speaking, nothing's really changed much other than that we're able to provide better quality products to our customers.
Okay. Thank you, Jerry. So, Jody, I received some specific questions about the hotel's rooms. So people also ask if they invest, let's say, in the Lisbon project, and they get 7 nights per year included. Can they also use those 7 nights at the other hotel projects, including in the line of Mercan hotel chains, Jordi?
Yes, that's always a great benefit for investors. The fact that we have so many properties, you can enjoy not only staying in the property that you have invested, but as an investor into the Mercan properties, you will be able also to enjoy, subject to availability as usual. In these cases, you will also be able to enjoy 7 days in the other properties.
So one more questions about the Lisbon projects too. This time they want to know more specific about the 3% annual income. It will be starting next year, or can you please give a specific timeline upon the completion of the construction and when the hotel is expected to be open, and also they can receive the annual income? Jordi?
Yes, so as Ines mentioned, the good thing is that the rent is supported by a lease agreement. So that's a very good, it provides comfort and comfort to the investor on the fact that it's not a yield that it's dependent on the result of the hotel, on whether the hotel it does better or not. It's a guaranteed rent. So this rent obviously starts accruing when the hotel will open. So as soon as the hotel will open, that's when the rent will be accrued, and then this rent is paid at the end of the first year. In terms of when is the hotel planned to open, so the hotel is planning to open sometime in summer 2023 or fourth quarter 2023.
Okay. One more questions, Jordi, for the Lisbon projects too. As a co-owner of the hotel property, would we be financially and legally liable for unforeseen issues or damages?
That's also a very important question. And we make sure that in the investor agreement, there is a whole description on the insurances that we have in place to cover any liability. So not only the investor does not have to be liable for any additional extra costs, because that's a very common question. What about if there is extra cost in the construction? So the investor is not liable for that. We are liable in case there will be any extra cost. The good thing, as Jerry mentioned, we are on our 13th and 14th property, and by now we have very good experience, a very strong team to make sure that this does not happen. And also we have very good experience in terms of making sure that we have the insurance not only at the construction stage, but also at the operation stage. So there are no liabilities, whether for the operation of the hotel, whether at the construction stage, or for any other matter. And as we have said, there's no debt, which means that, of course, there's no liabilities, no financial liabilities.
Okay. Thank you, Jordi. So I keep seeing a lot of questions. I'm trying to sort it out for all of us. In case that we cannot address all the questions today, so we for sure will send the answers tomorrow to everyone. So I guess we need to have 10 more minutes and then, okay, everyone. So Ines, one more questions about the advantages or disadvantages of having the citizenship versus the permanent residencies. Ines, can you help?
Yes, yes, of course. Well, it's in terms of advantages, the requirements are very, very similar. So it's a matter that relates more to investors and the fact that some countries, for instance, don't allow for more than one nationality. You have to lose yours to be part of, to gain the Portuguese one, for instance. So it's more about investors than exactly the requirements here, making it harder one way or the other. So we recommend, of course, to the investors that they go through nationality, because it's permanent, let us say, more permanent than the permanent residency. It doesn't need to be verified every X years and so on. So just in terms of if both options are available, the most natural one is indeed the nationality. But that's a question that it depends, because it's something that we usually analyze with investors when we reach that point, or at the beginning if the investor wants, and relates a lot more to their home countries and their nationalities than exactly the Portuguese program, because both ways are available for investors.
Okay, thank you, Ines. So Jerry, we have one more questions for you. So what percentage of the GV applications are denied, and for what most common reasons? If so, what happens to the investment that we already made?
Okay, we've never had a rejection yet, and part of the beauty of the Portugal program is the requirements are not very complex. If you look at your documents that you need to provide, unless you're forging them or something, there's really no reason to be rejected. But in our agreements, we state very clearly in our investment agreement, if for any reason you're denied your golden visa, we buy back your investment. So we pretty well guarantee that you get your golden visa, or we just buy it back. So we do guarantee our performance, and there's no reason for anybody entering this program not to get the golden visa.
Mm-hmm. And one more question, Jerry, about the buybacks against. I received 2 questions asking about Mercan's as of today. How many projects has Mercan fully completed? And also, when is Mercan start to issue the buyback to the first investors of Mercan?
Okay, as I mentioned, when we entered the program or the business, you needed 6 years before you could be eligible for a buyback. It was just a couple of years ago that they lowered it to 5 years. So we have not reached anyone at the buyback stage, but we will have people coming up on that next year. So we have not yet had anybody buyback. As I mentioned, in terms of hotels themselves, we had to open our first hotel in July, and we're opening 4 more hotels this year and 7 more hotels next year. So we've been very fortunate. We've avoided the COVID situation, and we're bringing properties onto the market at a very opportune time. So from that point of view, we've been very fortunate.
Thank you, Jerry. So Jordi, one more question regarding about constructions. So are these completion guarantees in place for these projects, or is there any how we can manage to ensure that the project will be completed on time?
Yes. So what's very interesting is that different projects, they have different requirements for rehabilitation. So obviously not the same to rehabilitate a property in the center of Porto, which is a UNESCO protected area, a property that maybe was initially built in the 1500s, than what we are doing in the case of Lagos or in the case of Lisbon, that what we are doing is basically rehabilitating the area. Yes, we are still preserving some of the old setup that was there, but we do not expect any problems from this point of view. We already have the experience, as we have saying, with our properties that we are fulfilling in cost and in time. And here in Portugal, what's also very interesting is that, and it's relevant maybe to share with you a bit the process when we select a contractor. So the way we do it is we have an architect, and as we have explained, for these two projects, we have one of the top architects in Portugal who happens to be also the architect which is currently designing almost completed the Portuguese pavilion at the Dubai Expo 2020. So the process, once we have the project, as you have seen it, then with all the permitting, we go for a tender. Normally we have between 4 or 5 of the top construction Portuguese companies tendering for our projects. And one of the criteria for our selection is not only obviously cost and time, but very important, this construction company has to put a bank warranty to commit that they will fulfill on cost and on time. So that's how we are so sure that things are done on cost and on time.
Thank you, Jordi. One more question, Jordi, about the hotel rooms. In case the hotel is under operations and our family requires 2 rooms as well, instead of using 7 days each year, may we book 2 rooms for 7 days every other year? Being the investor of Mercan.
Yes, as I said, you know, I think investors are really not only because of the fact that they have invested in our properties, but at the end of the day, investors, they're also the ambassadors of our hospitality assets. So we really look forward to have, you know, the investors coming into their investment, into the other properties, you know, 2 rooms subject to availability as usual. That's absolutely feasible.
Okay, thank you, Jordi. Also, I list out a lot of questions asking about the bank account openings, the list of documents required for tax number. For this type of documents, I believe after the webinar, our supporting team can be able to send you the guideline and also the list of documents. So we will look through it after this webinar. And also for the cost calculator, some people also ask about the total cost. This one, we already have the cost calculator designed for everyone. So after this webinars, our team also will send the cost calculator for someone who asks specifically about the total cost during the 6 years time. And I see that most of the questions we already addressed, mostly about the buyback, about the construction timeline, citizenship, and also about the golden visa changes. In case that we miss any questions, we'll be able to send you the feedback tomorrow. And I think thanks a lot for the attendings of all the guests today. I see that people still be with us, more than 70 people. And thanks Jordi, Jerry, and Ines for being the guest speakers and to be able to provide clear answers for our partners and also our investor worldwide. And any information, if any one of you want to have the recorded link of this webinar, please send the emails to my emails or Thomas' emails. So we can be able to send you the webinar later on. So once again, thanks a lot for your attendance. Thanks a lot for the guest speaker. And also good night to everyone and goodbye now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jasmine. Bye-bye.